The former deputy chairman of the Tories is calling on the ex-Home Secretary to join the burgeoning reform movement. If Ms. Braverman were to join Reform, it would see her follow in the footsteps of her husband, who joined the party on 8 December. Suella Braverman is one of the latest high-profile Tories to leave the party and join Mr. Farage. Besides Lee Anderson, who joined in March 2024, Reform have lured over Dame Andrea Jenkins and Boris Johnson's former advisor Tim Montgomery. Reform UK Chief Whip Lee Anderson has lauded Suella Braverman for once more weighing in on whether ISIS bride Shamima Begum should be allowed back into the UK. Former Tory Home Secretary took to X and said, Shamima Begum must not be allowed back into the UK. Mr. Anderson replied to his ex-party colleague, well said, it's Suella Braverman, I do not want her here. Begum left the UK in 2015 as a 15-year-old to join Islamic State in Syria, before being found in a detention camp in the country in 2019. She currently lives in the Raj camp in northern Syria, but there are fears that with the fall of tyrant President Assad, the detention center may close. Her lawyer Tasnim Akunji believes that could pave the way for her return to Britain. He told The Telegraph that if the Raj camp is closed, that could be a relevant factor in future court judgments. Watch this space, he said. Mr. Anderson's support for Ms. Braverman's position prompted some ex-users to call for her to join Nigel Farage's insurgent party. Fresh off the back of securing the investment of property tycoon Nick Candy, who said he would commit a sum of 7 figures to Reform, supporters of the party urged Ms. Braverman swap Tory blue for Reform turquoise. One user, Taz, wrote, Suella must come to Reform. Another said, Suella needs to come and join Reform Lee. A third wrote, get it Suella Braverman into at Reform Party under the UK, please at Lee Anderson MP_. The political landscape in the UK is brimming with activity as Lee Anderson, former deputy chairman of the Conservative Party and now the chief whip for Reform UK, throws his weight behind Suella Braverman amidst growing calls for the ex-Home Secretary to join the burgeoning reform movement. The recent defection of Suella Braverman, Suella's husband, to Nigel Farage's insurgent party has fueled speculation about her potential departure from the Tories, signaling a seismic shift in right-wing politics. The Conservative Party, long considered the cornerstone of British politics, is grappling with an exodus of prominent figures to Reform UK. This political migration gained momentum earlier this year when Lee Anderson joined the party in March 2024. Alongside him, high-profile names like Dame Andrea Jenkins and Boris Johnson's former advisor, Tim Montgomery, have also made the leap. These defections underscore growing dissatisfaction among Tories disillusioned with the party's direction under its current leadership. Nigel Farage Reform UK has been quick to capitalize on this unrest, presenting itself as a bastion for traditional conservative values. The party recently secured a significant financial boost from property tycoon Nick Candy, who pledged a 7-figure sum to support their efforts. This influx of resources, combined with high-profile endorsements, has bolstered Reform's appeal to both voters and political figures alike. Suella Braverman's stance on national security issues, particularly her unwavering opposition to the return of Shamima Begum, has resonated with a significant portion of the electorate. Begum, who left the UK as a teenager in 2015 to join the Islamic State in Syria, has been the subject of fierce debate. Currently residing in the Raj camp in northern Syria, her potential return to the UK remains a contentious issue. Braverman's recent statement on X, formerly Twitter, Shamima Begum must not be allowed back into the UK, drew widespread attention. Lee Anderson was quick to voice his agreement, replying, well said, it's Suella Braverman. I do not want her here. Their shared opposition reflects a broader concern about the security implications of allowing individuals with links to terrorist organizations to return to British soil. This exchange has further endeared Braverman to Reform supporters, who see her as a natural fit for the party. The support for Braverman among Reform UK's base is palpable. Social media platforms have been flooded with messages urging her to join the party. Users on X have made their sentiments clear, with one writing, "Sala must come to reform," and another stating, "Get it Suella Braverman into at Reform Party underdruk. Please at Landers and Power." This grassroots enthusiasm underscores the party's growing influence and its ability to attract disillusioned conservative voters and members. The potential closure of the Raj camp, where Begum is detained, has added urgency to this debate. Tasnam Akunji, Begum's lawyer, has suggested that such a development could pave the way for her return to the UK, creating a relevant factor in future court judgments. This possibility has reignited public discourse on the issue, with many praising Braverman for her firm stance. For Lee Anderson, Braverman's potential defection represents an opportunity to solidify Reform UK's position as a credible alternative to the Conservatives. Her alignment with the party's core principles, particularly on issues of national security and immigration, would be a significant asset. Anderson's public endorsement of Braverman's views and his active engagement with Reform supporters highlight his strategic approach to expanding the party's reach. Nigel Farage, the party's figurehead, has long advocated for a return to traditional conservative values. Under his leadership, Reform UK has positioned itself as a champion of policies that prioritize national sovereignty, economic growth, and strict immigration controls. Braverman's track record as a staunch advocate for these principles makes her an ideal candidate for the party. The Conservative Party's struggles to retain its traditional voter base have opened the door for Reform UK to emerge as a formidable force in British politics. The party's ability to attract high-profile figures like Anderson, Jenkins, and Montgomery speaks to its growing appeal. Suella Braverman's potential defection would not only bolster the party's credibility, but also signal a broader realignment of the political right.